clarify okay, I also wanted to come back and clarify a thought that I didn't finish because I have ADHD. If you're new here, I know it can be hard to follow me at times. That's not intentional. I remember reading a comment where somebody said that I intentionally don't get to the point, like as a cliffhanger, and I'm like, bitch, I wish I was that strategic. Like, wouldn't that be amazing if you knew how to speak in a way to where you didn't finish your thoughts and it left people titillated? Like, I'm sorry that I'm doing that. That is not my intention, but that's the impact, unfortunately. So I've read. So just want to be candid that that's it's not something that I'm trying to do. It's just how I fucking talk. This is my natural. So I'm just gonna give it to you live, baby. But yeah, the thought that I wanted to finish up on was, so as I said before, I think I posted about it here, there was a whole thing going on where Maya had made a post and she was being very candid about erasure of black folks, by us mixed folks who are claiming our blackness and are erasing black people, basically by, taking up space as if we can really be from both worlds. And I think that that's something that's just not true. I think there's so many thoughts I have. I want to finish this one though, I promise. I'm putting a pin in it though. I'm putting a pin on the movie Passing, because if I don't say it, I'll forget. But yeah, so basically this fellow light-skinned mixed person who had admitted that they were mixed, that they were light-skinned, but that they were perceived as black by people, that people would not think to ask if they were mixed. And they were using FD signifier as proof, which is so weird because I know I don't have to explain this to everybody, but some people are new here, some people don't understand. But when a black person, especially a black woman, a black trans person, is communicating some harm that's happening in the community, it is really, really devaluing and dismissive to be using a black cis man's words as a way to make a point or even push forth a challenge. It would not be seen in good faith. In fact, it would be seen as an act of violence, truly. If you don't understand why, my best little quick shorthand is black cis men have incredible power in the black community. When violence occurs, it is oftentimes centering black cis men to the point where if there are victims who are not black cis men, they oftentimes do not get enough coverage or donations. We see with George Floyd, when black cis men are killed or harmed, it causes a stir in a way that does not happen seemingly when black women or black trans folks are being killed. And you may think of some names of black women that did make some waves, but it would be in bad faith to not just do some research on how many black women and black trans folks we've lost and how little we've heard all of their names as much as when a black cis man is killed. Being elevated in violence is obviously not the only privilege that black cis men have. I name that to just acknowledge that when harm is done in the community, a lot of coverage is centered on black cis men, not to mention that when black cis men are tearing down black cis women, they have the power of white supremacy. They have the power of of patriarchy, and also blackness, which makes people listen to what they have to say about the black community and what's going on within it way more than black women, way more than black trans people. And so when a black cis man is off code or not in solidarity with other black folks, it can actually cause a lot of harm. And to be quite honest with you, this is actually really happening in real time. And I really wish that I had the patience, time, and the resources to create something more than just giving you a story. But as I was saying, Maya had a video Someone tried to use a black cis man's words to devalue what Maya was saying and cause confusion. And, I reached out to FD Signifier a couple times and was just trying to, just have some dialogue, because one thing that was said to me when Maya and I engaged, because I wasn't in her comment section, I'm sorry in retrospect for doing as much as I did. There were definitely some comments that I didn't need to make. There were definitely some comments that I just should have just left to deep dark skinned people to engage if they wanted to. But there's a part of me that just felt like incensed that like Maya is creating and people are really trying to silence her. And the way that us light skinned people, especially us mixed light skinned people, silence people is very fucking violent. And it's something that I only acknowledged after listening to deep dark skinned people, because up until then and even now, I still have a slick ass mouth and I can still do a lot of damage and be a verbal abusive ass piece of shit. So I feel like, with that being said, because I'm aware that perhaps being in a narcissistic country, being elevated in not just black spaces, but being seen as some kind of hybrid to white people, like that shit is not healthy. So I think that it is very likely that a lot of us light-skinned people are just fucking terrible, given that we have proximity to privilege and yet we still don't use it. But going back to the movie Past, I'm putting a pin on that, but I will say this. Us mixed people are a lot of times either in black spaces, exploiting, taking up space, benefiting, or we're in white spaces. And, I'm still unlearning and critiquing like my behavior around white people and like what I do to either assimilate around them or how I try to protect myself by cooperating with their fucking delusion. You know what I mean? So it's like there's something there. There's something there. I'm gonna put a pin in that though, because I need to fucking think about that some more. But a lot of us mixed people like actually have a lot of work to fucking do, especially if we're light skinned. And so it would just behoove us to like just dig in and just pay more attention and uplift and pay deep dark skinned people, period. But also, getting back to the movie Passing, decided to people don't always want you to sometimes people have they're benefiting from the way things are. And I think a lot of us mixed people have been benefiting, and we got to double dip in kind of ways, or at least I did. I feel like I got to grow up as a mixed person and be shielded from anti-blackness. I got to be radicalized and go and be a speaker, be radicalizing others, like be low-key seen as a black radical, like at some point in my life. Like the fact that like I've been able to like exist in spaces and not even know my privileges and people accepted my analysis is dangerous and very, very alarming. And I think that that's something that you can only know if you're hearing these things. And so I think I want to take this moment to say, if you are privileged in any respect, I implore you to listen to people who are oppressed in the ways that you are oppressed by you benefiting from this privilege. It would be the most important thing that you ever do, to be honest with you. I would be a liar if I said my life didn't change upon listening to deep dark skinned black, especially fat black women who are deep dark skinned. It would be a lie. And I must be candid. That deep dark skinned people do not owe us this labor, but that by doing it, they are allowing us to be collaborators in safer spaces. And I think that that's something that we can work towards. I think safety is not real, but collaborating together makes the space safer. You hear me? I also want to go back to the movie Passing. But even still saying that, maybe we are living in the shadow of white people. Maybe we are. Maybe that's where our entitlement comes from. Maybe that's where our desire for this or that space in the community to be able to say our piece. You know what I mean? Like the way that people get so spicy when folks name folks are mixed, when folks name that folks are light skinned. Like that fire and that passion, the other side of that is violence. Like that's violence, but like the flip of that, like low key, seemingly just black enough to raise. Let me put an asterisk on that because I feel like I wasn't consciously refusing listening, but once I heard, I still was not holding all the way. So I think like I hate to say this, but you know, being called out isn't labor that I think anyone who is oppressed needs to be doing for anyone who is privileged. But that is one of the most effective ways to get people to understand how they're harming is by putting them out there and letting it be known that this is not okay. And I think it's really important to also say that it's not on anybody to be protecting the privileged. Like there are ways that you are privileged, I'm privileged, and it's important for us to be uplifting when those privileges are harming people in real time and to be aiding efforts to expose the truth. That's our role as mixed people, as, you know, white people, as able-bodied people, as cis people. Like your role is to be uplifting. No one gives a fuck if we understand our how we're oppressing. That actually doesn't fucking matter. And I really, really, really want folks to think less about, because there's a lot of times where people will spend time just talking, and I'm not saying that talking is bad, but sometimes it's not about if a white person understands anti-blackness. It's, do you have disposable income? Do you have a skill that you can offer as a master and apprentice? Is there some way you could be shifting how shit is going for someone deep dark skin around you? A lot of y'all know deep dark skin people that are down bad. If you can share their flyer, why can't you send it to other people to share? You know what I mean? Why can't you be a link in the chain? I really want us to think about that. On some mushroom goddess shit, like the mushroom really asks us how we can connect. And part of connecting with other folks is showing up for them with what you have. And some of us have an abundance of something and we're not offering it. And I don't know if it's because you're worried people are going to reject you. And I don't know if it's because you don't think that it's that deep. But there's somebody out there right now that could probably use some tax information. There's somebody out there right now that could probably use some coding help. There's somebody right now that could probably use some expertise that you got because you had the ability to navigate through the world without anti-blackness on your motherfucking back. Like, you gotta really think about shit like that. Just think about how you've been able to get here. And what can you do? Because we all have something to offer. Even my broke ass. I also want to say this is so unrelated to everything else. But that... Okay, I'm circling back officially to the Miowa FD signifier situation. Where basically... this is a whole nother little piece of information. But I gotta just be honest with you. I'm a simp. I've been simping for this Twitch streamer It's like really sad. Like I'm worried for me, but not really. But yeah, I have a type. Um and it's apparent. Anyways, without spending too much time, I have a crush on this Twitch streamer. I'm not gonna name them. You think I'm gonna name them after I told you all that? Fuck no. Just kidding. But yeah, I'm not naming them. But they are very famous and they are very popular. And they have been using FD signifiers content and bringing it to white men and definitely black men and definitely everybody who watches him. And because he says a lot of anti-racist things while looking like a very conventionally attractive, spicy white man, he is palatable. And so it's one of those moments where I'm like, bro, like, I appreciate having some platform, but when moments like these are happening, it's like, fuck, I wish my brain worked the right way, because like in real time, I'm seeing like a black cis man's privilege coming before what he's actually offering, because, like I watch FD Signifier, I like his content. But because FD Signifier has made so much content that kind of, I don't want to say makes him an authority on blackness, but he is a black cis man. And because of the privilege that I mentioned earlier, he does get the privilege to say things, and when white people feel like listening, they will engage with content like his. And as I've said to literally him in a comment, or excuse me, in messages that I sent to him personally, I have engaged with his content. I've sent comments. I've liked it. I've enjoyed his content. He has a lot of really enjoyable content, and I would never want to make it seem like I know how someone's thinking without asking them. But when a black cis man creates content where he says biracial people are black in America, where he presents a caveat that undermines work that deep dark skinned people are doing, that allows us to not just take his words, but use the privilege and the power of his words to qualify a wrong opinion. But because of his privilege, other folks will engage. They won't necessarily see it as, someone with power over a group that they're speaking on, in terms of like a black cis man saying, yeah, these people are black too. And that honestly ties back into my previous message or voice note about not just black cis men having privilege, but black cis men divesting from black women, divesting from deep dark-skinned black women, asterisk, and creating children with mixed race women and white passing women and non-black women, and saying that these children are black because they have some lips and a curl, ignoring the fact that they're clearly mixed because their parentage is mixed. But that being said, that conversation not being had on the high key, and black women especially being like attacked for acknowledging mixed people in black spaces. It's just created a climate where it's not really safe for deep dark skinned black folks to always be candid. And that's something that I'm just realizing because I'm listening, not because I know, not because anyone ever felt safe to tell me or let me know. And I think that says a lot, doesn't it? Like, if you are a mixed person or a light-skinned person in black spaces and you've never heard anyone deep dark skin tell you about how us light skinned people have been harmful, like, doesn't that make you wonder, like, how safe deep dark skinned folks have felt around you? Because that's where I'm at. Like, that's what I think about. I think about what does it look like to find out that there is a type of behavior us light skinned people are employing and behaving like that is very similar in respect to white people, you know? And I think about how even as I reveal my mixedness, like people saying shit like, you're still black to me. And I'm like, word. Like, but do you like what? Because there's moments where it's like, there were, like, at first I would be like, thank you. Like, I would be really dramatic. I'm like, thank you for that. But I feel like I must impress that, like, you know, the work that people do to care about us light-skinned people, the work that people do to see us as black or mixed or a part of community, like, that means that, like, you know, there's work that you have in you. There's labor that you have to offer. And, like, why is it only being offered? My apologies. I didn't even realize I didn't finish my point. But if you have the labor to be fighting for anybody black, please put it towards deep dark skinned people. Don't be in comment sections trying to fight for people's blackness that are mixed. That's weird. That's weird behavior. And it's gaslighting, and it's honestly like a part of a psychological operation. Like, for real, for real. Like, if you look at like type in first black and then look at the color of the people. For real, for real. It's a psychological operation, which means it's something that's happening to fuck with your mind, to make you think a certain way, even though it is not that way. Even though things are not working, things can't work that way. It's a way to make you believe that how things are operating are just, they're fine. Nothing needs to change. And that's not true.